Hello, world of YouTube. Hope you guys are having a good day. My friends Aaron, Kevin, and I, along with our artists Crystal, Tom, and Emily, are going to take this time to clarify a few hard-to-understand things about the Old Testament.
Hey guys, this is Aaron, and I'm going to be telling you about the story of the flood in Genesis 6:5. So the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil at the time. The Lord decided he would wipe the human race from the earth along with the animals, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. So God told Noah to build an ark, but the ark must be big enough to fit every kind of creature, male and female. Noah did everything the Lord commanded him, and the rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out, people and animals, and the creatures that moved along the ground, and the birds right from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. The flood lasted 150 days, but God remembered Noah, and the floods receded. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean birds, or the good offerings, and animals, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, and said in his heart, I never again will curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done.
One of the biggest things that God does in the Old Testament is make a covenant with Abraham. In order to understand what a covenant is, you must first know the importance of a covenant in Bible times. A covenant is kind of like a legal document for old times. When two people wanted to make an agreement, they would cut an animal, like a sheep, down the middle. The two parties would then both walk through the two halves of the animal. The dead animal symbolizes what would be done to whomever breaks the covenant. In Genesis, God told Abraham to cut and lie down the dead animal. But there is a difference between the normal covenant and that of Abraham with God. Instead, God sends a pillar of fire to represent himself, and only himself, walking through the two halves. This means that God is the only one on the line. If God does not keep his covenant, then he will be severed like the animals on the ground. With this covenant, God promised Abraham that he would have descendants that outnumber the stars, a land flowing with milk and honey, and he and his offspring would be blessed. To remember the covenant, God commanded Abraham and all of his men to be circumcised, which is to remove the male foreskin. If you do not know what that is, please refer to the link in the description below. Circumcision is how God separated his people, the Israelites, from others.
After the flood, God decided to choose someone to carry out his will. Just like he chose Noah, God chose Abram. There was no specific reason as to why he chose Abram other than that it pleased him. He made a covenant with Abram and promised that he would have as many descendants as the stars, and that those descendants would always have land that belonged to them and God's blessings. After this event, Abram changed his name to Abraham. Abraham is the father of all of the Israelites and an ancestor of Jesus. Now let's fast forward a few hundred years. Moses, an Israelite who was adopted by the Egyptian Pharaoh, was chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of their Egyptian slavery. Moses did so, and after initially refusing, Pharaoh allowed the Israelites to flee. He allowed them to flee because God sent many disasters to the Egyptians. Then God led the Israelites into the promised land, but not before they were kept in the desert for 40 years because of their disobedience. Once they were settled in the promised land, or modern-day Israel, many kings began to rule them. The most famous of the kings were David, who made Jerusalem the capital, and his son Solomon, who built the temple. After this, the Israelites had many bad kings, and God allowed them to be captured by many different nations, like the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Romans. And that's where our friend Jesus appears, as an Israelite boy in the line of Abraham, born during the Roman captivity.